bunker built inside a mountain. And these are...
Alright everybody, we're gonna go for a morning walk in the woods around Battery Vara here in Norway. It is one of the last great World War II cannon batteries that is still in place. And last time we went through the gun here, we met with the experts who told us everything about it, how it worked. This time we're going to do something I always wanted to do. Crawl through the mountains here surrounding the big guns and take a look at the close defensive positions, the AA guns. And they're just awesome here because they're well hidden, they're built into the mountains, they're camouflaged, and they're still there. But since, just before we go, I found this video of the entire construction process of one of the sister guns in France, the Lindemann battery. And I wanted to show you and tell you in detail how that was built, and because, well, the Lindemann battery has been covered up and it is no longer accessible. The huge casemates there were all disappeared when they built the tunnel. So, seeing it's pretty much the same type of construction, I wanted to show you and tell you exactly why and how they built this thing, just so you know exactly what kind of resources they needed to spend, and thus what kind of investment they needed to protect here.
To be one of the biggest gun pits and gun positions of the Second World War, if not ever, but you would be almost correct. There's one more that's one number bigger.
This is one of these large, great, amazing guns that still exists, and this was the great casemate that was going to encase the first one that never arrived. Wanted to show you this because in France they built well, shall we call it a sister battery that was a little bigger, the Lindemann battery, but I wanted to show you the casemate is roughly the same here, just a reminder before I show you exactly what it looked like to build it and construct it and install the gun there. It really is amazing to see something that large. So I thought it would be fun for me to tell you and show you what it looked like when it was constructed. Now, for the sister gun out there, the foundations were laid in 1941. Gun installation, casemate construction began in early 1942, and the gun was operational by summer 1942. So basically, about a year, and it was ready to fire. There were several phases of this, like the site preparation, foundation laying, casemate construction. Some of the supporting structures were built, and there were over 30 Tobruks, including 28 Flak positions. And then, of course, they finished everything and it was ready to go. That's the process. Now, they spent 17,000 square meters of cement per casemate, and they built 3 of them for the entire battery. Portland cement was sand, gravel, and some fly ash. Then there's 4,000 tons of carbon steel rebar. That's about 1,333 tons per casemate, ribbed for bonding, plus steel for turrets and doors, of course, as well. Then Formstein blocks, thousands of precast concrete blocks, cemented also with rebar for walls and support. There was about 9,000 men from the OT that worked here, with about 300 German supervisors, engineers, construction overseers. Then you had a whole lot of conscripted labor and forced labor. Combined, that was about 8,500. The conscripted labor, or forced laborers, were French, Polish, and Soviet. Then there were skilled workers as well, German masons, carpenters, crane operators. And they would shift with concrete mixers and giant gantry cranes. So, what did they build? They built a casemate S262, like this big one we saw in Norway. 50 meters long, 17 meters tall, 20 meters wide, with 4 meters thick walls and roofs. Reinforced concrete, Formstein blocks, rebar grid, steel armor plates, including the gun chamber, ammunition rooms, and crew quarters for 15. Ventilation and engine rooms, including the 2 machine guns, the little Tobruks, per casemate. And then the 30 Tobruks surrounding it, and minefields and barbed wire, just for fun and visitors. The foundation itself was 2 to 3 meters thick on a concrete base with rebar for the 1,582-ton gun recoil. The walls were made of formstein blocks, rebar tied with wire, and the concrete was poured in lifts, with 7 to 14 days curing per lift. The roof was poured over forms that was 4 meters thick, rebar dense, obviously, earth then covered, and then there was finishing was the armored shutters and then the camouflage paint. Now the gun installation itself, there it was a 406mm SKC 34, 105 ton for the barrel alone, 20 meters long, and a C-39 turret, similar to what you see here. The ammunition it had was, there's an AP shell, that was 1,030 kilograms with 25 kilos of bursting charge and the rear fuse. High explosive shell, also 1,030 kilos with 80 kilograms of bursting charge and a front fuse. Then there was a SAP shell of 1,030, again with 45 kilos of bursting shell and bursting charge, and a rear fuse. Then there was the Adolf shell, which oddly enough was a smaller one, of 600 kilograms. However, it had a range of 56 kilometers across the canal. The process of that was, it was shipped from Hell, Poland, via rail in early 1942. That's where the gun was first installed. And remember, I took you there last year, and that is amazing, where you found the huge rangefinder still in place, remember? Then, huge gantry cranes that would lift it onto the concrete platform. The turrets were then bolted down, lifted by a crane with a 150-ton capacity. That's why that had to be rolled up on blocks. The casemate building, walls, roofs, poured around the guns then. Calibration? That one was first test-fired in June-July 1942, using a series radar set, rangefinders. Then integration was connected with ammunition hoists, ventilation systems. In Norway, there's only one of these casemates that was completed. The rest were, as you've seen, in open pits, to be encased had the war lasted longer. Now, the big gun was a little bigger than the one in Norway. It fired between 2,226 to 2,450 shells. Last fire was 1944 at Dover, and Canal Shipping had fired about 1 to 2 rounds a minute per gun. There was a garrison of 318 men, 4 officers, 34 NCOs, 280 enlisted, plus 118 men from the 6th Company West for close defense. It will fire an average range of 42 kilometers for the standard shell. The accuracy was really very high, aided by the radar rangefinders, so it hit Dover, killed people there, wreaked some havoc. It also did disrupt shipping. However, it was limited during D-Day since it was way out of Normandy's range. The Bruno turret was damaged in September 1944 by a railgun fired from the English Isles. It was then captured in September 26, 1944. And it withstood a lot of bombardment. Basically, the only reason and the only way you could take it out of commission was by the direct fire, which the rail gun was, except it was from England. Ships couldn't get within any kind of sight of it because they would have been taken out and destroyed by the guns before they would get there. So, basically, here you have it. That is how the installation of these huge guns would go and would look like. Lots of cement, lots of work, and then after that, everything was camouflaged and ready to fire. So, that having been said, now you've seen it, you know what they're protecting here. And now, let's go take a look and see exactly what they did to protect them, because it was really cool and very early. I'm not sure why, but almost every time I'm at Møvik, I end up sleeping in my car. But the good thing about that is I get to get up early, and it's a beautiful morning, and there's a whole big close defensive area up here behind the casemates. Because of course all of this, these 4 big guns, were heavily protected. And last time I was here, I never got a chance to show you just exactly how well protected and how those crews actually lived. So now we're gonna go have a look at that. And that's the signal and other generator bunker. The really interesting thing here is you have these 4 big guns, and all of them have, of course, their own generators as well as getting from the public grid. And there's the generators here in the signal station. And all of them would be able to draw power from each other. In case one would lose, the other would lose, you would still be able to funnel power to and from, so all the guns would continue operating. I would love to have seen the new gun installed in this casemate. I would love to see it still be in there today, but that was not to be. So now we just follow the tracks, and when the tracks end, we go to the other side. The little ammunition train would run between the bunkers and the main ammunition storage. And it's amazing that they found almost 1,500 rounds here after the war ended, which would be far more than the guns would be able to consume before they would stop working. Especially considering there was only 3 of them at that time. One would think the Germans could have found something more productive, or a more productive place to stick all of those shells. You know, in Normandy maybe. But here we are, here it is, and a lot of them are lying out in the water where they would. An interesting note is that apparently all these tracks were not covered by camouflage netting in most places. They didn't find any after the war, nor are there any in the pictures from then that was taken. Which is really strange, because that is usually how things are done. And for any half-cerebral fighter pilot, bomber pilot, who would see tracks leading into, well, nowhere, he'll know that insert bomb there. So parallel with the tracks is another outcropping here, and there's even water in between us, but we're going out there because the men were actually living in caves and bunkers, and this is full of infantry fighting positions and anti-aircraft weaponry. So we're going around and back out. And here we get to the first munition store. 2 identical ones. And right above the munition store, there's a little bunker sitting up there. You can just barely hench it. Then the tracks would circle round to the other munition store, and then from there service the other 2 gun pits. And coming down from the side of the rail is the first, a really heavy machine gun bunker with a really heavy Panzerplatte, just to cover this walkway. And that really is impressive. Unfortunately, it is flooded, but they are talking about opening it up and cleaning it up and getting rid of the damn graffito. Remember how I told you that everything in Norway looks like bunkers? This is just a rock formation, but it really does look like an ops post, doesn't it? It makes it tricky to make your way through here because you see things that are not really there. And the next position we get to, you can obviously tell from here what it is. I don't have to go in and show you, do I? Alright, I'm just kidding, let's go. But you do have to look very closely. Hacked out in the rock. These can be hard to find, but they're here, hiding, well camouflaged. This is the first little position. The bunker, first bunker is in here, which is And hey, the bunker oven pipe is still in place. And here's a small 5 centimeter mortar position. So they're actually going to be lobbing mortars at enemies around here. Ammunition store for the 5 centimeter mortar. Yep. And then the pillar where the mortar would sit on. That's a serious weapon for a close defense, really. Probably have a radio, munitions, mortars, mortar grenades, a couple of guys serving it. Nice little defensive position up here from the machine gun. And then the crew serving it would be in there. So let's go have a look in there. Close defensive position. Traditional utility shed. All the wood is still in place. Steel door is still in place. I'm a big fan of this. Somebody pulled the innards out of that. Lamps right here. More storage. So this would be the room for the close defensive. Yep. And there's one of the bed sills still there. Ventilation pipes would run throughout and go through the one sitting on the ground here. And we're coming down into the mountain. It smells quite fresh in here for some reason. That's the barracks. Again, nice how they did it in red brick. It actually gives it a homely feel. And I mean homely in a British sense of nice, attractive, not the American sense of homely. Look it up. Different English-speaking people have slightly different meanings for the same words, which sometimes will get you in trouble. Lots of technical tunnel. Wow, they run a technical tunnel on the wall, and probably for water. It looks to me like they were doing a lot to save and preserve water in these bunkers, water tanks and everything. But this is one of the wettest countries they occupied. Oh, and that's the other exit. Yeah, that's the close defensive to the other exit. Again, lots of technical runs under the floor here. Overpressure valve, and I think water, no, it's not a water tank, there's no water in here. Now, you can just barely see underneath the white paint, there's a black mark. This wall would be dark or black, so when you open the close defensive port, it wouldn't reflect white, bright paint. But then again, same thing is here. It makes it look like a sloppy paint job, which I actually think it is a post-war Norwegian army repaint. A lot of infrastructure just for one little room for a mortar crew. They really put a lot of work into protecting very few people. Which is really interesting. A lot of infrastructure for fairly little. And of course the wood is so bullets wouldn't ricochet all over the place. And you see the trenches hacked out in stone. That's a trench that will not collapse, leading up to the other entrance of that crew bunker. That's all that was. A small crew that's all that was. A small crew shelter. And the next is coming down here. And here's the next. Ever so slightly bricked up here, with a trench running through it again. This is basically just the entrance tunnel that's hacked into the cave where the shelter is. A little MG position over there, the other entrance on the other side of that rock. And I know there should be an antenna set up here. This must be for an antenna, because it's not underneath the bunker itself. And this was covered in camouflage netting, because all these are for the camouflage. So this is the bunker roof, and everything else is just stone. And I'm saying that coming down this staircase that seems to abruptly turn into, I don't know, mud, crud, something, as opposed to continuing being stone. And there's a kitchen sink. Okay, there's a joke in there. Okay, this is really a lot of crap came down here. Ow, what the hell was that? Oh, that was a metal post. Why is that there? Why is that there? Oh, okay. Okay. Number 71, you say? You know, for future references, don't mess up your historical locations, because one day someone is going to need to clean them up. Oh, bloody hell, this ain't moving. Okay, so in we go the hard way. With some part of my body. Oh. Okay. All right. And we're in. Oh, there's a lot of bits and pieces from the war here, but there's no close defensive position, except the peephole and the steel door. The next steel door. Lots of bits and pieces missing. All right. That's already the other entrance out to the fighting position. I presume, let's see, what is this? Yeah, close defensive position. They really did something with drainage, with some serious steel-lidded drain doors. Bunker oven could have stood here, I suppose. Part of the ventilation pipe. Another pipe. Is this the water tank? Yeah. This is the water tank. So there's water tanks in all of them, in what is probably one of the wettest places in Europe. Oh wow. Slopes up a little bit. A bedroom. There could have been quite a few beds in here. It's amazing they're still here though. Yeah, they look pretty original to this place. The Germans here would use a different bed setup, I have noticed. And a lot of red brick. I mean, it does make it very cozy. So, what do we have here? Half doors, they used to be maybe here. Ah! What have we here? Fighting position. We do have a fighting position. And a Panzerplatte. Yay! So this was an MG fighting position out over the ridge here. And there's some of the pipes laying in front of it from the ventilation. 1939. 1939 right here. What does it say? 140. How big was this? This is not that big, about 5-6 centimeters. See if we can see that from the outside. Maybe we're lucky enough there's some of the original camouflage paint on it. Munition storage for it. Hinges are a bit worn. They really built them in Norway very, very different than they did elsewhere. All right, I'm gonna try it, but come on. No. That would have been optimistic to the nth degree. Okay, so outside, and the hail of mosquitoes awaiting me. I don't know what I'd rather have, a naval gunfire incoming or mosquitoes. I'll probably go with a naval gunfire, honestly. And here really is a regular bunker with defended entrance out into, straight into a trench, hacked into the terrain here. And a drop. There's a pipe down there from in here. Where is it? Where is the Panzerplatte? Where's the damn thing? Where's the firing position? It must be in front of that then. Well, that's not exactly a good place to go walkies, but okay. My knee will applaud me for this. By the way, someone send me a knee brace. Alright, this is not funny. It's got to be up there somewhere. The bunker wasn't that big. That means I'm going to be crawling up this slack here with my right now bum knee. Oh. Good, good. Much better. I appreciate when I give myself these challenges. Go around. Everything else is solid cliff, except the stuff I choose to bounce around on. It must be up there then. And people running down there. Damn health fanatics. Okay. Cliff face, yay. Alright, so it's got to be in there. And the mosquitoes are just waiting to see. It'll be easy to pick up my bloated corpse down below here. There it is. Alright. There's it. There it is. Nice Panzerplatte. Even had a couple of shots to it. That's strange. Bunker built inside a mountain. And these are all ventilation pipes and tubing they pulled out of here. And it's not like they're thin. I mean, these are significant. They're just rusted. Been here for many, many years. Damn, there's a lot of bugs here now. But from here, if you just ignore the trees, you can see a lot. Alright. You really can't see out here. Alright. Give you a little better view, but not really. And it's not like you're going to sneak up on this thing from this side. Of course, these trees weren't here. If they had been, you wouldn't be able to see anything below. It's almost like a covered walk where the infantry can hide behind. Alright. Now, there is the other entrance. I want to see if I can see the Panzerplatte from the front. Although I don't think I can, because if I could, probably facing the valley. Let's go in the trench and see if that's not the way in. Trenches just continue around here. All again, hacked into the rock face. Ideal place to fight from. On one hand. On the other hand, bombs, mortar grenades, really doesn't dig into soil. It doesn't dig in here like they would on soil. So you would have a whole lot of splinters and more rock generated flying around. Lots and lots of shrapnel if bombing occurs here. So there's that negative. If you get bombed or shelled in dirt and it's not an airburst, you're in fairly good shape with things that dig into the ground. So a machine gun position, and the entrance is over there, and the Panzerplatte is facing the plateau, so I can't get to it. But that's alright. We know it's there, we saw it from the inside, that's what matters. Now I know a bit further up there should be a crew bunker. I know it from the map, but it's not exactly like it's indicated. So, where? I don't know. That's the fun part. I'm following the path. There's also a lot of those. And, well, I feel it's this way. I'm not basing that on anything particular. In fact, I'm not basing it on anything, except I feel it's this way. Remember, these are bunkers hacked into the rock, so they could basically be anywhere. If you don't find the entrance, you're not going to find it. I'm just feeling optimistic. And this is what's below this outcropping on this side. You can certainly cover this area down here. Still haven't found the crew bunker. It's going to be in here somewhere. Just thought this was a beautiful scenery. Okay. Back on. I was going to say a track, but oh, there's a little snake. There's a little snake buddy there. There's a little snake buddy there. I'm sorry, buddy. Didn't mean to disturb you. Okay. I need a snake bite. It really takes some looking, but here is a foundation of cement. So let's see what that is. Maybe I'll get some idea of what I'm looking for. I know that should be here. So that's certainly built up. I will say camouflage, A for effort. It just looks like a shell. What it could be. No, that's just rock. See, that's what makes this hard. Alright. So, that's a staircase. This is the foundation of a building. Yeah, this is the foundation of a building. Alright, so that's the next one. Now, I also know there's, of course, foundations for various Flak and other, but yeah, this is a building foundation. You would think there would be plenty of little wooden buildings, which were also regelbouwten, by the way, out here. Because they were also type built prefabs. The building down there made me think that if there's a building there, there may be a reason for it. I mean, it was for the crew for fighting position. Fighting positions would be up here. And I'm onto something because there is a mount. Oh, the view is gorgeous up here. There's a mount for a thing, there's a mount for another thing. Hey, look at this up here. Absolutely gorgeous. Other than watching the sky though, watching for people approaching would be a bit of a thing. So here's another lighter mount. I don't see anything else. I suppose it could also have been Norwegian military post-war. They were here for a while. That's gorgeous. It's not even 6 in the morning yet. 4 are asleep in the car, and I'm fresh and awake like Billy Goat. Ah. Well, there's stuff up here. I don't understand why or what. Somebody left a saw up here. Got a little campfire. But the view. I see rocks stacked on top of each other, surrounding a cement thingy. This may be the drone we're looking for. Although we're actually looking for quite a few, but let's that not hinder us. Let's see here. There's something in there, certainly. And again, whatever is behind me, there was once a glorious view. Imagine this without trees. Let's see what there is. Looks like a foundation. Ah, I know what this is. It's a flak position. That also means there's going to be a crew bunker around here. Like there, in fact. But let's not lose our minds and take one thing at a time. Yeah, that is certainly what that is. Here was the pivot somewhere, the mount for the gun, munition store, 2 more here on either side of me. And you can again see everything. Sky, sea, everything. Let's see if this is the 88 or the 2. It's interesting, it's not noted on the map as I know there's a 2 and an 88. And there's another one up here. So that looks identical. Double platforms. Close defensive position, I would almost imagine. You definitely wouldn't put a pack up here. You're not going to get a tank up here from the enemy side. So this would be the crew bunker. Presumably. Let's go see this before we go there. This looks pretty big. There's little stairs hacked up to the roof of it. It does look very big. But they're on the further side, so you would have to have everything you need here. There's no rushing stuff to this place here. You would want everything in place. Another little fucked position here. And down there is the fire control is down there on the little island there, but the military is still using it, so I can't see it. The Norwegian military actively took over a lot of these places, and they're still using them today because they're just in the right place. They're well built, and if the Germans decide to show up in your backyard and build you an enormous amount of defensive positions and munition storage bunkers, what have you, well, you use them. There's also a technical tunnel leading up to the Flak battery, so there would have been electricity up here. This would have run, where would this have run from? Not underneath it. There's a little pit over there in the ground. Okay, there's a lot to see here. Let's go up high and see what I can see up there, because I'm really curious about all this. All right, here is another, wow, they really did put a bunch of guns up here. Another one over there. Technical tunnel leading to this one. Now, this could also be the projector. One would almost think there would be a projector here somewhere that will also explain all the cables. There could also easily have been a radar, radio, covered trench up here. I would think we're looking at some searchlights, to be honest. But if I'm walking on one bunker, oh, there's another, then this is a serious position and a seriously large bunker. And all these are connected by tunnels. There are munition stores there, so it could be another flak. Tunnel leading over there as well. Well, I mean, I'm just... And why did I not go here last time? Oh yeah, look at this. Oh, close defensive or machine gun bunker, I don't see why it would be here. You're right in the middle of the position, so probably storage. And again, with the view that we have mentioned. Now, that is the emergency exit. That means the bunker is enormous under me. That makes me very excited and slightly giddy. Alright. Again, technical tunnel ran up here. Wow. Oh, there's the gun. There, you can see both of the guns from here. That means this is the furthest out point. For some reason, I thought the gun was still in place, the flak gun here. See the fog is lifting. This is awesome. Yeah, here's the flak gun mount. I suppose it could be a little storage shed
Although it does have a fairly flat roof there. I guess it could also be the emergency exit, but still. Look at this. The technical tunnels. For the cabling that's running between all of these. And the next one's over there. And I'll tell you, I have deliberately been circling the entrance because if it's not open, I will be so incredibly disappointed that my enthusiasm will melt away and I might even cry a little. But son of a bitch, it's close. Why are people doing this to me? Oh, I knew it. Well, I didn't know it, but I knew it. Next time we'll get in there with the guys who have the keys. And here's the overgrown technical tunnel that leads up to that one. I'm thinking inside here was a massive generator in the bunker here. I almost don't see what else it would be. I've also seen this as a 2 centimeter Flak barrel cooling basin, although they're a bit deep for that, so they're probably not. Broken down walls of what look like a close defensive position, certainly. Could be the foundation of a house here. Staircase. I'm curious. Could be the back wall. Lots of red brick. Yeah, looks like part of the floor still. So this could be the quarters for the Flak crews. Okay, so where did the staircase go? There's still wood in the back of that wall. So here's the staircase, so it starts here. Oh, it's overgrown. Okay. Now, there were caves far bigger than what we've seen, where they had quarters. Just no one around to point them out to me. There's something over there. Yes, there is. Looks like an open pillbox. Could be a mortar position, I suppose. Obviously the steel doors here are closed. Yeah, I think this could very easily be, well, a 2 centimeter Flak it could be. Actually, I think that's what it is. I was thinking it'd also be a mortar, but it wouldn't be out here. Yeah, this looks like a smaller Flak unit. And then there's a munition store in there, and in there, which explains the two doors, which can't be opened at the same time, which then they would hit each other. That seems actually, and at least they open in a direction so you can get into them from the gun. And there's empty in there, I can hear that. Alright, so come on, crew shelters, where are you? Dying out here. That does not look like rock, but it's not like we have been fooled before. It does look like cement to me. Can you believe it? This really is just a rock. I really thought this was the roof of a Regelbau. So the best sign I've seen in a while is the remnants of trenches. They damn well better lead somewhere. So I just walked myself into a swamp, and I'm not entirely clear on how a swamp gets up on top of a rocky mountain. Yes. This is the drone we're looking for. Now, I am fully expecting this to be flooded since I just walked my way through the swamp, and I'm also committed to not carrying. Sorry, spider, but this looks like the wood from a close defensive parapet like here. But the wood is still in place. Close defensive position. The double steel of the war is still in place. Now this is underneath the Flak batteries. So one may wonder if this is not related, considering the first things I see is technical tunnels. Still some cables running through here, although I don't think that's the right place for them. Just the defensive doorway. A little mist in here. Technical tunnel on the floor. Way. Wow. So I'm thinking barracks from what I've been told. That would have been the bunker stove. Would have been sitting here. Nicely decorated red brick. Lots of bits and pieces. It's very interesting to see it come out of stone like this. It gives the bunker a completely different feel somehow. And that's a close defensive point too. Are you telling me that here's the other entrance already, and all of this was just for one room? That's almost impossible. Well, like there's nothing possible or anything possible here, but some metal bits and pieces in the water. That's the water tank. That's the water tank. It's still there. Probably looks like it's working. I'm just going to go around outside and see if there's the other entrance right here, because they built all of this just for this one small room, which is almost, sorry, insane. Let's see. Take the path here. That's an old. If it's not, we're going back in and we're going to get wet. But that's okay. No, this is it right here. Into the trench again. And this trench just continues around. I'm going to jump in it right here. The trench. See where we go. This trench runs over in front of and to the other entrance and past that. So say we just follow the trench. But now, let's see. Yeah, that's the other entrance. They built all of that just for that one small room. Oh, that's crazy though. Here you see the strands from the camouflage netting still in place. This entrance was covered by camouflage netting. I can't believe they built all of that just for one room. Ventilation, water tank, everything. So what happens if we follow this around? I would imagine we get two more. And I hear rumor of bigger ones, and that's what we're looking for. If I cannot get entangled and fall and knock myself out here. What a front line. Everything just hacked out. Down into machine gun position. One thing is digging trenches, another thing is hacking them out. And you have a very wet view down there. Feels very unlikely anybody would cross the water and scale the rock face up here to get just to the flak guns. If there ever was a raiding party, the flak guns are not exactly the prize. Here. Okay. So the big guns are up there. And where does this take me then? This takes me around just a little position here. Ops post. And now there's a tree in the way. And here in one of the flak guns, there's a little path. And I'm wondering if that does not lead down to a crew shelter out there. And up here's the flak gun. And right here is the entrance to the underground bunker underneath it, Well, hallelujah. Hacked out into the rock and deep underneath the flag position in a slightly uncomfortable walk. Somebody did horrible things to this staircase here. Or, well, we'll pretend that it once was a staircase. Close defensive position, of course. Still with a wood in place. Alright. They really did work into these mountains. Ooh. Oh, look at that. The wood is still in place here. Around the door. But it almost looks like there was a really heavy door here inside. I just don't understand why there would be. Close defensive position is closed, but look at this. This looks like it would have held a very heavy door, and yet there was a wooden frame. I don't understand why there would be. Still, the lighting is in place. Alright. Wow. We're going down. I'm a big fan. With a little luck, we can get into the main power plant from here. Oh, look at this here. Again, here is the wooden place for the water tank. And the taps are still there. This is really something. Alright. So what we're getting into, oh, this is not as much red brick. This is cemented. Technical tunnel, as usual. But this is more like you would see a regular Regelbau in a German bunker, with wood embedded in the walls for the beds. That looks at the base of the air filter. This room is actually sloping down. It's not straight, which is strange. Oh, now we're going somewhere. Wow. So the beds were here. That's ventilation. It looks like that would have held the ventilation. I've never seen a shelf quite like this for the ventilation before. But that's where the air filter would have been. Still part of it, still connected up there. This room is sloping just a little bit. I wonder if they accounted for that when they put up the beds. So I will be a little disappointed if this is just an out. But I think this is just an out. They built enormous shelters for just a few crew. Cables are still in place. Gas tubes, storage bins. Now, we have to believe that this is just the beginning to another big underground bunker, and not just a close defensive position and an out. However, it is an out. And I know that because I can hear the birds sing. Damn it. you get greedy sometimes. For some reason, built something up here at the entrance in front of the close defensive. I suppose it could have been a bathroom, although it seems a bit of it. I mean, why wouldn't the Germans have bathrooms at the entrances? Every other army did, including their Prussians. So that's the out. And again out here, you see all the hooks and netting, all the stuff for the camouflage netting is still in place outside the entrance here. So all this was covered. And what are we looking at? A walk down. I questioned why. Are we walking down here? If you come out. Ooh, I guess you're not. Welcome to Norway.
Alright, I wanted to try to go down to where the radar control center was on the little island of Flak, some distance from here. I can't get there because the military is still using it. I expect it to look the same as the one I found in Hell in Poland, but I wanted to see what was there, if not for anything else than close defense. And there was a few bunkers, so here we go.
And as we move out on the island of Flekkerøy, where the rangefinder was, you start seeing more signs of military infrastructure. Usually this is a good sign. There are remnants of old positions, old buildings here. It's almost impossible to see what this was. Except an observation post, perhaps. Neatly camouflaged, probably as a house when it was still there. And why? Because the ocean is right here. This is how you camouflage a pillbox. Who would ever know? It's well filled in. I would imagine observation post and maybe a flak underneath all of this. It's really hard to see with what they did here. No, this was an actual building. It's a reinforced building. So if this was not the fighting position, where was it? Has to be an ops post down here for this. And this is a reinforced bunker, all right. Well, let's see what we can see. We have a little doubt as to what this is. Close defensive room. And probably one small infantry firing point. Yeah. Pretty hefty walls. A little bit of rudimentary wood on the walls. And there's lots of these. All the way down here by the water. More of them up there. And interesting because a rail at some point ran from this. I wonder why. It would be a shame to say that the staircases leading up to the old bunkers here are in good shape. Almost look like something traumatic happened to them, but I don't think it did. The Germans did manage to build an enormous amount for this area. And of course, all of it part of the defensive infrastructure. Not a lot of it left though. Except old staircases and a few bunkers and a few technical buildings like this one. Still with bits and pieces from then. It's really hard to gauge what this building was. Could be some infrastructure. Look like old wash basins. But there's so much here in Norway. Germans were so busy here that the Norwegians actually don't know exactly how much there was here. So we can take one fortified area at a time and we can go through it and see what we can find. Or certainly one fort at a time and go through that as we have today with all the area that comes with it.
Now, as of right now, I'm not entirely sure where we're going next week. Maybe I'm going to let the guys and girls on Patreon vote something in, or I'm just going to have to see what I can pull out of my bag, what interesting location. It's been a while since there was the last Nazi secret, so maybe that's time. I do know, however, that if you don't subscribe to my channel, there will be no dessert before you go to bed. See you next week. I hope you'll consider subscribing to my channel, liking, follows, and maybe even join me on Patreon to help out. I am just a guy, a historian, traveling around all these historic places in Europe on my own dime, trying to bring them to you.